Menefee, fellow Toastmasters and extremely welcome guests. Good evening. I'm new to New Zealand, and when I first arrived here, I, like many other people, probably got a little bit confused when I looked at a map. Can't quite see where that is, so I've written the place out extra large. When I first arrived, I pointed at the map saying, I'd like to go there. And I asked two of my friends, oh, can you tell me how to get there? Oh, you want to go to Taupo? Yes, it's just down State Highway 1 and so on. Oh, okay, thank you. Asked my next friend, having a similar conversation, oh, you're going to Taupoi? Yes, of course, yes, that's just... Hang on a minute, can these two places be the same? Once I came across this confusion, I thought I really ought to learn how to pronounce these Māori names in the way that they were originally intended. That's what I'd like to talk to you about this evening. I'm in no position to try and educate you in how to pronounce Māori names correctly, so that's not what I'm going to say. What I'd like to do is cover three areas really. Firstly, why would I want to do this? And secondly, what are the challenges that one faces when trying to pronounce these words correctly? And then thirdly, I'd like to leave you the challenge yourselves. So why would I like to pronounce Māori names in the correct way? Well, I'm from the UK, as probably most of you have guessed, and which is right on the doorstep of France, and I've spent some time travelling in Europe. And every time I visit a country that doesn't speak English, I try to find my way around, and a really good way to find your way around is actually to use the names of places as they're pronounced by the locals. But of course it's not easy, and I know this by own experience from the other side of the equation. I was in the Midlands one day, living there for a while, and an American tourist came up to me and said, oh, gee, can you take me to... Now we all know exactly how to pronounce that. Of course, it's Loughborough. The American tourist said, gee, I gotta get to Loga Baroga. Now clearly the poor tourist was going to struggle, and he had not worked out that the local pronunciation was Loughborough. So I'm very keen on trying to use the local pronunciation to help me find my way around, but also the local pronunciation of names is very carefully tied to the history. Why is a place called as it's called? And the pronunciation is part of that history. And actually it's about respect for the history and how places come about. So that's why I like to learn to use the Māori pronunciation. But also, language is such a wonderful thing. We all stand here in Toastmasters using language all the time, and it's a living, breathing organism. The challenge is, there's no such thing as right or wrong in language. If you want to get a word in the Oxford English Dictionary, it just needs to be printed in 5 different places over a period of 5 years, and that word then becomes the gospel according to the dictionary. So language is about use and how it works, not being right or wrong. So I'm not here preaching about political correctness. It's about my belief as far as history and respect is concerned. However, if we want to use the Māori pronunciation, I face 3 challenges. First one is even deciding whether a place is actually a Māori place or something that's come in from with the Dutch or the English or whatever. Some of them are obvious. Taupō, for example. Whangarei, recognise that? Taronga. How about Monaco? And of course, not forgetting Aotearoa. But there are some names that aren't so obvious, and we could easily get ourselves into trouble here. Auckland, of course, but it could be Auckland if we were trying to use a Māori pronunciation. And what about Thames? I can imagine Tames or all sorts of other ways of pronouncing that that aren't actually correct at all. So that's our first challenge, learning which are the Māori places and which are the non-Māori places. The second challenge that we face is actually getting the correct pronunciation. I'm very lucky in that I have Māori friends, particularly thanks to Matawiki for coaching me for this evening. But it's not that easy for everyone. And of course, as an English speaker, when I see words like this, surely that's one hunga. Well, what about this? I speak a little bit of French, so surely that's manger. And there are some sounds in the Māori vocabulary which aren't natural to an English speaker like me, particularly the R sound. Not far, in fact, probably about there. Of course, we have Rotorua. No wonder people just call it Vegas. And the third challenge in trying to use the Māori pronunciation for place names is other people, making yourself understood. I've noticed that the majority of non-Māori speaking people I meet use a European pronunciation. Taupo, Rotorua, Tauranga, Manukau. So when I'm conversing with someone and they're using that pronunciation, how do I feel about wanting to use the Māori pronunciation? Does it feel like I'm trying to preach to them that this is the right way to do it and what you're saying is wrong? Are they embarrassed that I'm not using the same word as them? I had an experience with a client just a couple of weeks ago, and she said, "Oh yes, you've been doing the round Taupo bike ride, how do you get on?" Well, I wanted to reply to her talking about Taupo and not Taupo. So it's a bit of a challenge, that one. So with all that in mind, it's too much like hard work, isn't it? Well, my short answer is no. It's absolutely worth doing because it shows the respect for the land, how the countries come around, and it helps you find your way about. So I'm committed. My challenge to you is also to become committed to using the Māori pronunciation. And I'm going to leave you with a word to go home and practice. Taumata whakatangi hanga kawawa tamatea pokai whanua kiti ana tahu. Good luck.